So thank you for the introduction, Jess. I am, as she said, a life, career, leadership, kind of all those things combined coach. And I really am excited to talk to you about back to work and making it work for you. And really the intention, I'm going to use that word twice here, but the intention with this conversation today is really about making sure that when you are headed back to work, whether it's because you just had a year and a half at home because of COVID, or whether it's because you've had a baby or you were caring for a sick parent or a spouse, no matter what the reason is, at some point you're going to be going back to work potentially, and you want to make it work for you and be really intentional in that process. Make sure, okay, so that does work. So first and foremost, before we even get started, I mean, I have an agenda here, and this is more, instead of calling it an agenda, I really probably should have called it a process, because I'll take you through some steps and different ways of thinking and different tools and activities and ways you can challenge yourself to really work through being intentional and aligning with your values and bringing that forward to your career and to work and home. And really, it can be used in a lot of different ways. But first, before we jump in, I know I was going to say you can be on camera, you can be off camera. It doesn't matter to me either way, but definitely I would suggest, if you don't already, perhaps grab a pen and paper, or if you have a computer, which many of you are likely using one right now to do this, take notes on your computer. I would like this to be something that you can do interactive along with me. You don't need to share anything if you don't want to, but if there's the ability to take notes and kind of walk through this process and be able to categorize some of this stuff yourself, I think that would be really helpful for you. And then the last thing that I always like to say before any conversation that I have with either my clients or in a group setting like this is, I know that you're using this time, you're sneaking away from other responsibilities, other parts of your life, whether it's the middle of your workday, you're doing this over your lunch break, you're needing to eat. I want you to be comfortable. I want you to relax. I want you to be feeling like you're here now and very present, because I want you to release the guilt and really allow yourself to enjoy this time. This is for you, and it is meant to be supportive and helpful. So anyway, that whatever that looks like for you, I hope that's what this experience is today. So we're going to talk about some reflection and vision. So of course, like what has been happening in terms of not being quite at work, or maybe you are, and what that looks like. And then thinking about moving forward, leading with values. I mentioned that before. Values are crucial if you really want to lead with intention. Values are the core component of that to make it authentic for you. How would you prioritize and plan? So what does that look like? And then anticipating obstacles. Of course, anytime we're going through any sort of transition, especially back to work after a long time, potentially not in the office or with our coworkers, we want to anticipate potential obstacles and then evaluate and evolve. And I honestly, evaluate and evolve is probably the biggest thing to do at every point, because we go through transitions, change all the time. And being able to stop, reflect, check in, go through some of these steps and remember where you are, where you want to be, and take that and evolve it. Okay, so the first thing is around reflecting and vision. So again, I think I said this, but at the end of the day, I know we're talking about back to work after having had what I think we can all agree was collectively a very hard experience. And I don't make light of that. I know everyone has been and has experienced this very differently over the past 18 plus months. Some people have had new babies. Some people have lost family members. Some people have not been able to get away from their kids who are constantly bothering them and in their space. And other people have teenagers who are just begging to get out of the house. I mean, everybody has experienced this incredibly differently. And I'm very sensitive to the fact that while back to work and some people are still living exactly in the same way. I mean, COVID's still around, of course. So the idea of back to work is really more about a transition point. Kids are mostly back in school. Most of the folks are back to work, but not all. And I was planning to ask if folks were, but I don't need to necessarily get that sense. It doesn't really matter what that means for you, but ultimately change is uncomfortable and it's hard, but change generally leads to growth. And so the idea here is really about finding the opportunity. So when I think about if you know you're going back to work, or honestly, any transition. So I want this to be something you can take and move forward with as a tool and a process that you can really apply to any opportunity that is sort of where you're at a point of transition. And when I say find the opportunity, I'm also sensitive to the idea that that's not just about like a toxic positivity message of like, oh, just like think of what's good. That's not what I mean. What I mean is change is inevitable. So when you're presented with it, it's a way to try to figure, you're going to have to navigate it regardless. So if you have to go back to work and back into an office, that's a reality. So instead of just navigating it and surviving it, it's trying to find the opportunity and make it work for you as best as possible. So in order to do that, I think the best place to start is really to review what have the past 18 months look like. So specifically for today, I know that's really what we're talking about. But again, anytime you're at a point of transition, it's reflecting on where you were and what worked, what didn't. So maybe working from home was everything you ever wanted it to be. Maybe it wasn't. What about it was good? What wasn't? What do you need to let go of? And what do you need to hold on to? What are the core components of the way you were operating for your work or the way it was for your family that worked for you and what didn't? And it's really categorizing and reflecting on over the past 18 months, what did that look like? What do you want to make sure you bring forward and what do you really need to get to change? So it's really just a reflection point. And then from there, you definitely want to then think about the what if. So not everyone would be disappointed to be back in an office. Some people are really excited for that. There's all different ways that you feel, but at the end of the day, the way to do it intentionally, to be able to return to work and make it work for you, you really want to think about what that is that you want it to look like. The what if, not the, oh gosh, what if this is terrible? What if because I'm in an office, I feel unsafe? What if, and all these negative thoughts. The what if, it's switching that to what if this goes exactly as I'd hoped it would? What if this was, if I could draft it myself, the perfect return to work and easy, flexible, whatever that looks like for you. It's really starting to imagine and vision, if you will, what that return to work will look like. So what if it goes well? What does that look like? What does it feel like? What are you trying to get out of it? How do you want to feel? It's a lot about how you want to feel and what that then can translate into. So this first stage is meant to be about exploring the what if in a positive or opportunistic sense, to think about what you want to bring forward as you do make that return to work. And that gives you a good starting place to really think about how you can think about what you're trying to achieve, what that might look like, help get some clarity, because if we don't question what it is we want, it's very hard for it to go the way we want if we don't know exactly what that looks like. So in order to lead with that intention, you do want to set those goals, bring that perspective, find that clarity for yourself. I can only see a few of your faces, so certainly if anyone has any questions, or if I'm going too fast, or if as you're thinking about this, it feels too theoretical, I can help try to make it more tangible. Whatever would be helpful. I want this to be as valuable for everyone in this session as possible.